right, so I have my friend Kelly Caywood. I met her through Lady Boss. It's a weight loss program we both were a part of. We both had incredible results. And we were both Lady Boss of the Month. I don't know if you're wearing your shirt or not, but
It's so cool, dear.
one of my faves. So Kelly, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I, born and raised Minnesota, farm girl. In my journey, I never had problem with my weight ever growing up. Very active, like I said, on the farm. After leaving the farm, very active, snowboarding, things like that, until I had kids. That was so I had my daughter, and then it was like a year of whatever, and then it was like, okay, something's got to give. And then with her, it fell off when I started eating good, and then I got pregnant again right away. So I never had that chance to maintain that either. So knowing that after having my son, I wasn't having any more kids, that scared the crap out of me when I finally got to that point again where I was like, okay, something's got to give. So I knew that I was going to, that was going to be something that I was going to have to figure out. But going into, I don't know, I guess at this point, it's not even a weight loss journey anymore, is it? It started as that, which I think that everybody like thinks that that's where what's gonna get them to where they want to go, but it's so much more than that. So now after I have lost 45 pounds, it took me 3 months, it fell off. Not easy. Don't think me saying falling off means easy. It was very, very hard work, fighting for myself, dedication, consistency, working out, eating good. But then it was like, what from here? I had the support of my tribe, my girls, that kept me going because I kept them going. But then I hit a point where it's like, okay, where am I going from here? Because I've got all of this. I was in a bubble, and now I've got all this rest of the world that needs me still as a mom, as a wife, as a, employee, things like that. And so it was really hard for me to figure out what to do with that, which I'm glad that, everybody hits points. Then they need to just like figure it out. You're not like, oh, I'm going to lose weight and then I'm going to know what to do the rest of my life, So that's been a fun part of the journey too. I would have to say my biggest joyful parts of it were the hardest parts of it. I know now that I always thought working out for me is fun. Working out for me is therapy. I do not work out to lose weight anymore. I work out to feel better about myself, to know what I can do. When I work out, I can control that situation right there. And also, my kids saying things the same that I know that they're hearing from me, from watching me, because they're always watching. And then also, when I started my journey, my life was in a muck. And I think I started out with a distraction. It was a distraction for me. And so when I started, it was, I'm going to do everything possible to make my life better. So what doesn't fit? Sitting around all night watching TV does not fit. Waking up at the last second that I need to get up just to hurriedly, stressfully get everybody going doesn't fit. And alcohol does not fit. So I decided September 30th, 2017 was the last day I ever drank, which was on my grandma's funeral. I started my weight loss journey with Lady Boss, and I didn't decide right away that alcohol wasn't gonna, like, I knew that it didn't fit in my weight loss journey. So I'm going to not drink unless if it's, you know, my cheat meal. Um, and then the first 2 weeks went by and I didn't drink during my cheat meal because I just didn't need to. And then my nephew passed away. And that was when I knew that it didn't just no longer have a place in my diet. It no longer had a place in my life. I remember staring at that glass of wine, not caring about my meal plan, not caring about, if I was allowed to have it, caring about what it was going to do to me that rest of my life. That could be the drink that took me down, and I couldn't, who knows, maybe I never got back up. And so I decided not to drink that drink and not to drink ever again. It is hard. It is very hard going from drinking 2 bottles of wine a night after I put the kids to bed to relax. After I started not eating supper because I'd built up such an alcohol tolerance that if I ate, then I wouldn't even feel anything from that alcohol. I would just be sick. So then if I quit eating, then I would feel something. I never had to deal with hangovers. Hangovers didn't bother me, so that wasn't that. But it was, I don't want to say it's the hardest thing I've ever done because, I mean, things are on a level for me of how hard I want to fight, not necessarily how hard the task I'm undertaking is, and that I wanted to fight for that, and so I made it happen. But I tell you, there's times, mostly for me now, it's those special moments that I would drink, like when the weather started getting really nice this summer, and that's the time I would have been outside with the kids and, you know, having a drink with a grill going or whatever, and then I just didn't do it, and it was hard. And then the holidays come around and all I do all day is cook and bake and drink, and I didn't do it, and I got my power back. So it no longer has any place in my life anymore.
That's amazing. Amazing. You have been a big inspiration to me because I struggled with alcohol too. I cut back a lot. And around that time where I started seeing your posts and how, you had been so many months sober, that was another seed for me. My first seed was my brother, where he, quit for a whole year and he just doesn't drink anymore. Um, so you've been a big part of my journey too, as much as because we talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people struggle with alcohol and not really realize that they have a problem with it. They just, might consider sometimes maybe I've been drinking too much lately, but I don't have
Yeah.
to.
Right.
And we kind of talk about that with ourselves, that we're functioning alcoholics.
Yep.
So what did that look like for you with what the alcohol looked like for you and how you realized it was a problem?
So like you said, the functioning alcoholic part. Growing up, with my family, with my generation, we grew up on the farm. Everyone's, throwing hay bales and drinking beer, So for us, it was like, it was just it was our culture, and I would never say that where I ended up was anybody else's, responsibility but mine, because they don't know any better. They don't know the difference. Um, and for me, I never thought I had a problem because it's what we all did. Like, for the longest time when I was younger, there was a point where my husband's not a big drinker. So when I met him, I like purposely wouldn't drink because I wanted to be myself around him, not like this obnoxious, like around my family. It's like fun to be, drinking and obnoxious and whatever. And I didn't want to be that person around him because I was like afraid of what I would do or say, or like all of a sudden, so I wouldn't do that. And it was automatically my entire family. Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? For 3 years, the question was, are you pregnant? Just because I didn't drink that much. I'd still have a drink or something, but because I did not get completely obliterated at a Christmas, then there was something wrong, right? So when I, like you said, was like making those posts and things about so many days sober, my husband brought it to my attention and he says, I I think you're being a little dramatic about this. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. And he says, you keep saying sober, like it was a problem. So functioning alcoholic is the exact, he had no idea until I started telling him stories like, you have no idea, I told him. He had no idea. And so he had no idea where, he's like, I just don't understand how you could just not drink and then you can have a drink and just not drink. I'm like, you're right, you don't understand that. Because if I get a hold of that again, I don't know if I could have the strength to let it go again. And I don't want to even think about it. It's not like food. I can't imagine having a food addiction because you have to eat every single day. Like, there is zero place for alcohol. There's no reason you have to ever have alcohol in your life. So I can't imagine having any other type of addiction where like alcohol, I can just like not have it. So it's such an emotional thing that like, okay, the first time I went out with friends and I'm like, I just made up excuses. Oh, I've got this going on. Oh, I've got that going on. The very first time the words I don't drink anymore came out of my mouth, and for fear of what everybody else was going to say around me or peer pressure me or whatever, their words were, oh, okay. That was the most powerful moment that I could ever imagine. So when I finally explained to him where I was coming from and how I was feeling and where alcohol was in my life, then he understood. Because he had no idea. He just thought I was being completely dramatic and I was trying to draw attention to like this thing that I did so that I got attention for it. And I was like, no. And not only that, but I needed that support to just keep me going for that little bit. And now I don't really think about it. I mean, I do think about it, but I don't really, I'll be like, oh my gosh, now it's been almost a year and a half. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, with functioning alcoholic, you think about it with how you drink enough to feel good,
Yep.
kind of hide it away so other
Hmm.
people don't notice that you have a problem. But
Yep.
um, you don't drink to the point where you can't function and do your job, where it's
Right.
possible. But it is an issue because it's an emotional thing.
Yep.
Because I noticed when I quit 6 months ago that I was always getting really bad anxiety and depression for a week after I would drink a
Hmm.
certain. So it's and the sober thing. It's got a negative connotation, but it's also got a positive one.
Right.
Um, when I say that I'm sober, people think, I was, really messed up, but
There was a rock bottom for you, but
yeah, there was a rock bottom, and it was a long time ago, but I kept holding on to it, and it kept
right.
being a lesson in life for me too. There's
Right.
good in my life. Um, so with I also like that you were saying how when you said I just don't drink anymore. I had a moment like that too with some friends that were like, oh, I'm gonna see you so drunk because I'm usually kept together really well and try to be respectful and
Yeah.
quiet. So people want to see the quiet girl get drunk. Um,
Right.
and then I say, no, that's okay. And they're like, oh, come on. And then I say I don't drink. then they accept it. So when you
Yep.
say ultimate choice, people leave you alone.
People treat you how you treat you.
Yeah, exactly. So when you make a definitive choice, people
Yep.
stop badgering you.
Yep. Yeah.
So where was the point where you just felt like this was the best choice for you after, calling it sober? When was that moment? What was that like for you?
I would have to say it was that feeling of control, because it was almost like I didn't feel like I could control everything. So like you said, so my alcoholism never affected my kids. Okay. There was not a point where I always checked, okay, everyone's in bed. I don't have to go anywhere. Like now I'll drink. So I never had one sip of alcohol and drove somewhere, So that for me that was my line. That was my line. I'm never going to let this affect my kids. And so then the point for me when I was like, this is my life, is when I felt that control back. Or before I was drinking because I didn't feel any control. So how about just like, let's make it so like you didn't feel anything. And like nobody else knew that. But then once I got to the point where it was like, wow, I can control my emotions in this moment and not think, okay, well, let's just throw my hands up and then later I'll just, drink it away. It was, okay, let's take care of this now. The kids are having a rambunctious night. Okay, I need to figure out how to take my evenings, which was my highest anxiety moment of the day. Between the hours of 5 and 7, I felt like I was drowning. It was almost bedtime, but it wasn't quite bedtime. And I couldn't, just felt like I was drowning. So what I started doing was, okay, now I've pinpointed that alcohol isn't my answer. I need to fix this. So it was at the point where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm no longer just throwing things aside. I'm actually fixing things and getting balance in my life, and I'm in control. That was when I'm like, this is it. Like, this is forever.
Yeah.
It no longer has a place.
I remember you did some sort of mile, like a 5K or 10K not just in memory of your nephew.
Mhm.
And you were talking a lot about how it felt to be free from the alcohol, and why that was a choice at that time, um, to not drink anymore. Can you talk about that a little bit more with your nephew?
So that moment, I think before my alcoholism was just, it's what I knew, right? And like I said, I was so focused on it not affecting anybody else that I was almost patting myself on the back. Like, I've got control of it. This problem is so bad. I was constantly worried of what people thought of me, because no matter what, I drank 2 bottles of wine. But the whole time I'm thinking, how am I being perceived right now? Am I being perceived obnoxiously? How am I handling myself? That's all it was. It was like, well, as long as I got a handle on it, then I'm fine. So that moment, that day with that wine glass was that was the day that I was finding the outfit for my nephew's funeral, and I lost it. I was in the Kohl's dressing room, broken down. Kids didn't know what to do. And when I went home, my cousin was like, it's fine, I'll come over. And she brought that bottle of wine. When she poured that glass, my thought process was looking at it going, okay, this is going to go from, I can use this as a distraction and this is just what I do, to this now is going to be emotional. If I drink this right now in this deep, dark state that I'm in, instead of learning how to get stronger, learning how to cope with it, if this is going to be how I cope with it, that's a deep, dark tunnel I'm never going to get out. So it was going from, this is a norm, to, I'm going to be drinking emotionally. And I don't think I've ever done that before. Or maybe I did do that before, but I never knew that. And that was the point. where I knew that I knew that. So I was like, okay, like it either is going to go from here or it has to stop here. And then that's when it just completely, that was the day where it was like alcohol didn't have anything to do with my diet, didn't have a place in my diet. That was the day where alcohol didn't have a place in my entire life. So that was the emotional factor of, why am I going to drink this drink right now? It's not because we're socializing. It's not because I would need to unwind. This is because I am upset, I'm depressed, I'm whatever, and why is this gonna fix that? Or immediately I thought, I can get stronger and then deal with this. So, I mean, I can't imagine if I had taken that drink today.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you that in that deep dark moment that just
Yeah.
you felt that way, but you recognized that could have gotten it was like a
Yeah, that fork in the road.
and you
Yep.
took the right way, and you
Yeah.
became so strong from that decision.
Yeah.
And you've inspired so many women from that. If you could say anything to yourself or anyone like yourself in the past, what would it be?
When you question it, we all question it at one point. Like you said, like when was the point you knew you had a problem? Like we all question it. Like we have a barbecue and then I'm coming in and I'm taking a shot. So everyone thinks like I took 3 drinks, so I'm not like an alcoholic, but really throughout the night there was like 10 drinks, right? Of course, like I thought about it when I was doing it. Like I was looking to see if anybody was around. I was taking a shot of hard alcohol, not like mixing a drink, It was something quick, like, that was, 2 years ago or something. And then of course at the time I thought about it like, why am I doing this? But I never really thought about it. So if you ever hit that point where you're having thoughts in your mind, explore them. Explore them. And then when you think you get it, go deeper, and then really look at where you want to be, and then look at how that fits to get there. And when it comes down to it, my thing is, we don't need alcohol to live. We don't. And there's people like my husband that we've been together 12 years and I've literally maybe seen him drink 5 drinks. Like he just doesn't drink. He can drink one. There's people that have a handle of it. But if there's ever a question in your mind, you just don't need it. And the only way that you need to make the decision, because one person did reach out to me and they said, yeah, I think my husband's on board. Like we're gonna give up alcohol. I go, okay, that's great. Now guess what? You need to not give a crap whether he's on board. You have to not care whether he is doing this with you, whether he takes a drink. You have to do it for you, and you have to do it for the reasons that you want to do, and you have to stand in that yourself. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You can't rely on anybody but yourself. So you have to figure out why that fits, and then stand on that. Like the day that it's like, well, I just don't drink anymore. I stood in it. Otherwise, if I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, I haven't drank for a while, and I don't know, maybe I will someday. Like, they're not going to take that serious, So you just got to do it. You got to fight for yourself.
Amazing words. Amazing words. I love you so much.
Yeah, it's crazy that both our lives are completely different for being in it. You got to find that I loved what you said earlier, being a rock friend. Like that is so good. It's like being that rock that, and there's different friends that you can find that just like are, there for you for different reasons, or like even if they don't know it, and that they inspire you for, for different reasons. Because, your first inspiration in my life being the burpee challenge, like when I say working out is my therapy, so I was able to take that to a whole new level. So like that was, that was different for me. I'd already gotten, the alcohol was already gone, and then in turn, for me and from you, that alcohol piece, and seeing that what it, did for me, so we're both feeling.
Like doing the burpees and the therapy with the exercise really helped a lot of problems with your physical ailments.
Yep.
So yeah, it's all about finding different ways to take bad habits and turn them into good, and then all of a sudden
Yep.
all these good things happen, and the problems you thought never would be cured are starting to whittle away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. If I didn't have something else, it's kind of like, so a smoker quit smoking and then they gain some weight because they're munching on stuff and doing stuff with their hands, right? It's kind of the same thing with me. There was so many nights that so bad all I wanted to do was, drink, and then I worked out instead. So like I did something, and then what it did was, where a smoker is using their hands, so like they're eating or they're drinking or they're whatever, or they're chewing gum or whatever. And for me with the alcohol, it was like losing that control of my body. So when I worked out, I controlled my body. Like, it was the perfect opposite for me.
That works with smoking too, because I quit smoking a year ago, a couple of days ago. So when you're wanting to
Yeah.
also inhale and getting the oxygen in, so when you're working
Mm-hmm.
out more oxygen, you start feeling better. So there's no
Yeah.
doubt that exercise can help with so many different addictions.
Yeah.
I also I love that you were saying that with food addictions, that's the most difficult one because
I
we
can't imagine.
um,
Yeah.
to function, to live. So
Mm-hmm.
controlling an addiction like that, where you have to have it,
Yeah.
that's I couldn't imagine that, but
No.
I know that it's possible to get a hold of that because
Yep.
it takes dedication. Um,
Yeah.
do you have anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think we definitely, I if anybody needs anything, reach out to me or Charity. If there's anything in life that I love, it's helping.
Yeah, for sure, and that's why I wanted to interview with you because I know you have a lot of great insight into how you got control over your addiction. And yours was a spontaneous one. You just
It
decided
was.
that's the most successful kind is when
Yep.
you spontaneously just decide. So this is your decision. You did it for you, and I'm so proud of you. And I hope that this will help inspire someone who needs it. So
Thank you.
bits.